Does that
Uh,
kid get spanked out of anger, like, okay, come here, bam, something like that, or that parents confers to him, letting him know why or what happened until.
so, about right after your first example, I realized that my desktop audio wasn't recording. That so
Oh,
sucks. But that's okay.
that's
What I'm
bad.
gonna do here is I'm gonna try to recap the story in my own
Yeah,
words, hopefully
sure, sure,
relatively quick, and you
no
can
worries.
correct any
Yeah,
errors that I make.
sure,
And
why not?
yeah, then we both know we're understanding each other, and then the audience actually knows what we're talking about.
Yes, 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 yes,
So,
yes.
everybody who's watching, this is what we were talking about. We were talking about spanking. So,
Mhm.
Philip, that's your name. Is that the name
Correct.
you'd like me to call you? Okay, great.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, Philip is pro physical punishment, at least to some degree.
Mhm.
And he gave me two examples. And thank you so much for giving me those examples. I wish I had
No worries.
recorded them. But anyway,
Yes.
so the first example that Philip gave me, that you gave me, was you were crossing an intersection in your city
Yes.
with your
Yes.
child, and you were holding hands, and that looks probably so cute. But so you're holding hands, and your child asked you, "Hey, is it okay if we don't hold hands and I just cross the street like a big boy, right?"
Yep. Yep. That's correct.
And okay, and you were like, "Okay, yeah, that sounds fair. Just be sure to stick next to me and be safe, and don't run off and do anything crazy. You gotta play by the rules. You gotta be right next to me."
Yes.
And then he decided that he didn't want to do that anymore, and he ran off. And I assume you went after, running after him, and made sure he was safe. But
Yes.
yep. And then it sounds like later that day, it looks like you went home or something,
Yep.
and then you
Yeah, we
talked
went
about
home.
what happened, and
Mhm.
you agreed upon a punishment. And I think you kind of went back and forth, and you agreed on like three spankings. Was it? I think.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Three spankings.
Mhm.
And then that issue was kind of resolved that way. And then your
Mhm.
second
Mhm.
example was your child was being bullied at school, and he was retaliating. So the first
Yep.
time he like yanked the child's hair, and the
Correct.
teacher contacted you and said, "Hey, this happened, not good." You talked to your child, said, "Hey, you can't do that. How about you talk to the bully, ask him why he's
Mhm.
bullying you, don't do
Mhm.
anything physical." And then the situation happened again, pulled the hair again. Teacher contacted you, said, "Hey, it happened again. Kind of got an issue going on here."
Mhm. Mhm.
And then the third time, he slapped the child. And then you talked to your child again and said, "Hey, this really can't happen
This is the third
anymore."
time. Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And then you slapped his hand, I believe, like three
Yes.
times or
Correct.
something. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
And then after that, you did no longer had any issues. He never got
No.
into physical
Yeah.
altercations again. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, a little bit long-winded, but I think I
No
got it.
worries. No worries.
All right,
No
I got
worries.
everything accurate in those examples.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for those examples. I really appreciate it.
No worries. No worries.
So, with regards to these two examples and the physical punishments,
Mhm.
if it wasn't for, if let's say this is the best way to get your a child to really understand that they can't risk your life and your life running out in the traffic, right?
Mhm.
And let's say it's the best way to teach your child that they can't be getting into physical altercations at school.
Mhm.
Because is that would that be accurate to say you think that was the most appropriate, the best method uh, of teaching your child? Is that too much of
For
a stretch for me?
okay. Okay. Good. Um. Again. Sometimes as a parents, this is a really really hard things to decide,
Right,
because
right.
you have to know whether what is appropriate for what types of discipline.
Yep.
You it's like, you don't really want to punish physically to your kid,
Hmm.
but at the same point you want to emphasize or make your kid understand that there are certain things that are very, very well to be avoided. It's not
Okay.
like you're being overly protective. You are open and you let your kids to experience things, even danger. Even danger sometimes is good. I mean, like, um, let's say your kid wants to try to cook, and
Okay.
then he asked, like, there's this is what happened to me actually when I was a kid. Hey, can I try to lit off the stove? And my parents said yes, and apparently I touched the fire and it burned a little bit of my finger, but that that makes me understand that, okay, no more touching fire, no more playing with fire, no
Right.
more playing screwdriver inside a like a uh, electricity,
Okay. Right.
because
Right.
because it's not really to say that pain is the best experience, no, but some part that you need to emphasize on your kid that maybe are involving his life in danger, other people's life in danger. You have to emphasize these types of things sometimes, not only through words, because words, as in my experience, for my kids, doesn't really always give the best results, as um, for example, that you convey that you are you are displeased
Mm.
with what he does through maybe spanking, because he through that he also understand the emotion of the parents, that
Uh,
if I do this, it means I am very, very, very displeased on what you are doing. If not, then there are the method behind, or before I do the physicals.
okay.
That's what I'm trying to say right here. That it is not the best method. It is best for certain
It's
situations.
okay.
Yes, that's what I'm trying
It's
to say right here.
okay.
Mhm.
You're trying to say that it's best to avoid it, but there's certain
Yes,
situations in which it's
yes,
absolutely necessary.
yes.
Okay.
Converse first. Converse.
Okay.
Try to make a conversation with your kids. Why you have to know what is his intention. If you know his or her intention, then it's even though it's not still hard, but it makes or your decisions of giving punishment narrower, and hopefully it makes it easier,
Okay.
instead of, like, because you can't just like hit your kid if, for example, he accidentally bump at you while you are, like, maybe driving, or maybe he spill his drinks while you are um you have to really understand why are you punishing, you
Right.
know
So the crime, the punishment has to fit the crime, I guess you could say.
yes, yes,
Right.
yes,
Okay.
exactly,
Can
exactly.
I go
Some
back?
are. Mhm, mhm,
Can
mhm.
I go back to your example about crossing the road? So
Yes, yes,
so
yes.
he purposefully uh,
Hmm.
went ahead and ran into the street, even though you explicitly said not to do that. So
Hmm.
that's kind of an example where it was just like he's completely disobeying you. It's not like he made
Yes.
an accident. It's not like
No,
this,
no,
right?
no.
So
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
definitely deserved a punishment for
Hmm.
absolute certain.
Hmm.
If spanking was the best method to grab his attention, to get his get to discipline him, what
Hmm.
would the second best disciplinary action be?
For me, usually what I've done to my kids, just like, for example, a simple um, disobeyment. Like, for example, could you just, for example, me teaching my kids to take off his shirt and put it on the laundry, or maybe just put it on the washing machine. That's not really life threatening,
Right,
and
right.
usually what I do is just like, okay, you didn't do what I said, timeout. Timeout
Okay.
is also good, you know after the timeout, just again, converse. This is very important, because after, usually, this is what I've learned too. After you time out, okay, you're good, you're off to go, you're good to go, you done your timeout, and that's it. I usually, after does that timeout to my kids, I ask why. Again, the same thing. You disciplinary means you need to make your kids being a better, in the future. Why didn't you listen and put your laundry on your in the washing machine? It's quite easy, right? And instead you are playing, for example, Minecraft, and oh yeah, because I couldn't leave my no. When your parent says this, you have to do it, because in this situation, this is a this is a dire situations when I ask, like, for example, change your clothes, because again, this is like a pandemic is really, I mean, like, in my country is really like booming kind of like types of things, right now. But
Sure.
instead, I mean, like, he's not like going outside and stuff, but I try to teach him, like, this is a pandemic and you have to care for your hygiene and cleanliness. And I ask you for a simple thing. Okay,
Sure.
so basically my second method would be timeout.
Timeout. Okay. And
Yeah.
why is timeout your second method and not your first? What makes the spankings so much more effective?
um okay, if I were to say in ranking, I wouldn't say in that particular situations, or for my kid disobeying me when putting clothes in the washing machine. I wouldn't say that spanking would be the first one,
Right.
because that would be out of context, and my kid
Sure.
would hate me for that, because again, it's per situational, if
The
or
punishment has to
discipline.
fit the
Yes,
crime, right?
yes,
What
yes,
about
yes, yes.
what about the
Hmm.
street example? Going back
Hmm.
to there, why did you
Timeout wasn't.
place? Yeah, why not use a timeout? Why not that be the number one instead of the? Why would not that be the go-to?
Okay, so for the street examples that I gave you,
Hmm.
again, it is a very, very matter of seconds of between, like, he get ran off by a car or I got ran off by a car.
Of
So
course.
he needs to really, really emphasize that that is really troubling and that could really ends up your life in a second,
Mm.
and you have to know that this is very, very, very serious, and you have to know to never do it again. Time
Okay.
out sometimes. Um, well, I didn't have any examples where he did. I gave him a timeout, but he repeated the same mistakes though. But um, yeah, I chose the spanking because he really needs to learn that that particular situations is important, and you have to know it. Something like that.
Do you think there's another method of punishment that could grab his attention even better than a spanking?
Um, I hope I know, but sometimes, for example, as I said, particular situations really need like you need to let your kid know that, okay, spanking is like, you're like in a games, there are tier, like
Sure.
spanking, and then timeout, or maybe slap in the hand, or maybe other parts of body that you did mischief, or maybe your leg if you kick your friend, or maybe kick a trash can, or I don't know. It never happens though, but you have to let your kids know there are tier,
Okay.
and um, as I said, well, if your kid doesn't really, how should I say, like, if your kid doesn't know that you are doing this type of tiers, you have to be careful on what you are doing, but if you know and you explain to your kids there are types of things that, or disciplinary actions that are clearly different in your types of doing, and you explain it to your kids, I think it is mostly okay, to be honest, because it's not like you are like using your anger to really hit
Mhm.
really hard to your kids, because that
Sure.
will be abuse too.
Right.
And you have, yeah, just like levels, again, as I said, kids really, really know how to judge you, because once you let off a thing or two, or you think, huh, I get off quite easily because my parents didn't do as, for example, I steal and my parents didn't know or didn't give me a punishment as I should receive, then I might just do it again next time because the punishment is so low. I'm just like your parents just say,
Hmm.
don't do it again. Just
Do you think
crime is
that
wrong.
what if you going back to the street example? Like what
Sure.
about like let's say instead of spanking that he
hmm
has his favorite toy that he plays with just about every single day. What if
hmm
you took away that toy for let's say a week? Do you think that would be just
Ah,
as effective as spanking, or do you think that wouldn't work as well?
um, actually, that type of punishment, for me and for my tier at least,
Mm-hmm.
it would equal as timeout.
Equal as
Um,
timeout. Okay.
yes, yeah,
Interesting.
because or should I say mid tier? You know,
Okay.
some if you would like to say because it's non physical.
Okay.
It's it is something that like you took something that he loves
Mm-hmm.
because he disobeyed you, but at the same time, okay, I got back whatever I wanted after a week. Some kid might get traumatized by that, you know.
Hmm. Maybe. Yeah.
As I said, different kid has different reactions um, on types of punishments too. To be honest, depending, you have to really know your kid or dig your kid because traits wise, if you're dealing with a melancholic kid, just by grabbing his phone or maybe when he's a teenager, I wouldn't do even spanking or physical anymore if my kids turns teen, um, because we are facing different kind of like a method of teaching teenagers
Sure.
that could traumatize him or her more, um, if you're talking about teenage kids when you took
Okay.
away his phone, when you um I guess like didn't let him or her to use internet, that would traumatize him more. But for kids, sometimes if you say, okay, no, not playing with your favorite toy,
Mm-hmm.
fine, I have another toys.
Oh,
Sometimes it happens. Yeah.
I
So
guess you'd have to figure out, maybe
yes,
take away
yes.
multiple toys, something. But anyway, I have another question for you.
Yeah,
So
yeah, sure.
obviously, you are at least moderately to very confident that that spanking in certain situations, not all,
Mhm.
obviously, is an okay thing to do.
Yeah.
What
Mhm.
could you learn that could make you lower your confidence, or at least at least think about it more? Like, what could you learn that would make you think, hey, maybe spanking isn't okay?
Well, actually, that happens during the first time of me trying to discipline my kids. There are times that even when I introduce, especially introducing this new stuff to kids, would be sometimes very devastating. My kid, if I could say, he has a trait of a sanguine. He's easy to be happy, but if he's sad, he really conveys his feeling. But yeah, just as I said, when I first introduced him to this type of disciplinary, when things get out of control, like definitely, as I said, that okay, I have to spank you, and then he cried. Definitely, no kids wants to get spanked at the first time. You know, like oh, my loving dad suddenly becomes angry. You know, and tries to quote unquote hurt me. But again, when I introduced him and he cried, I had to like pause. Like should I continue or should I back down? But if I back down, there will be no introducing in the next run. Um,
Hmm.
so I decided to keep on going. I said I assure him actually that Mistakes have consequences, and these consequences that you have is this, or spanking. You have to try to accept it and bear with it and try to accept it as a good boy. Because I explained to him crimes also have judgment, law. If you kill someone or if someone is doing bad behavior in public, there are police that are doing their job. So, punishment, you have to understand that I am doing this not as me being angry with you, but I want you to be better next time. So I proceed. After, finally, after I did it, he stopped crying and he hugged me. He was the one first hug me. I was like, okay, so if I mean like if my kid as a sanguine does this, so it means he understand. Okay, so you understand this particular method that I'm trying to apply to you. Good. So now, do you understand? Yeah. Do you want to repeat your mistakes that time again? No. Okay, that's enough for me, and thank you for being understanding. And finish. And yeah, that's why that's what makes that's the first experience that I still remember ever happened to me when I try to apply this method to my kid. Because um, I once learned about this kind of like just like I told you before, the severity or the importance
Hmm.
of letting your kid know whatever behavior he's doing, and how you should be a wise person and try to decide what's really is going on, if the kid's doing that or this that disobeys. So at first I was like, okay, is this the best method? But
Yeah.
after we've done it the first time, it's clear.
I,
And
I think you have really, really good communication with your child. So that's something that is really cool. I like to see when parents really talk to their children and explain things and explain why
just
things are happening. Yeah, absolutely.
just
But I do have one
mhm.
burning question that I
Sure, sure,
that I want
sure.
to ask. So before I asked you what you could learn that would change your confidence, and I think you kind of said like you when you first introduced that to your as a punishment to your child, it
Hmm.
sounds like you had a difficult time at first.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
what could you learn now that would change your mind? Like let's how can I maybe I'll throw out an example for you and
Hmm.
you can tell me if this would change your mind. And this is completely hypothetical. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's even true. But let's
Sure.
say there's a study that they conduct, a government agency conducts, let's say,
Yes.
and they find that of the children who were spanked, let's say they have a 20% chance of being convicted of like a violent crime or something. And then if
Mm-hmm.
they compare that to children who were not spanked, let's say it's a 5% chance of committing a violent crime or something.
Hmm. Hmm.
Would that, and let's say you examine that and it's all the data is to your satisfaction.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
that alter your
I've read
confidence
that.
in spanking? What would you think about that? What do you think about spanking?
Sure. Okay. So I've read that data before,
Mm-hmm.
but in the data, they never really get into the detail about does that
Oh,
kid get spanked out of anger, like, okay, come here, bam, something like that, or that parents confers to him, letting him know why or what happened until you did those type of punishments. That data never really spoke into details about it. I really believe that even if it could go higher, it that data of that 20% would commit like abuse. It would definitely not going to be 20% if the parents is out of hand. Like for
right.
example, hitting the
Okay.
head, or I mean, just be careful on head areas. And
Yeah.
yeah, again, if the kids does not know what or why um they are being disciplined, I'm going back to my first statement. Any type of disciplinary method, to be honest, is worthless. Even just making conversations to your kids, that, I'm sorry to say, a little bit meaningless, because maybe you don't have the time, is might make your kid less abusive, but we don't know what will happen to the kid afterwards, whether he continues to um, replicate or do the wrongdoings or not. Let me give you an example. For example, there are uh, type of like parents that was taught by some psychology type of like method. Never say never to your kid. Never say don't to your kid. You have to,
Hmm.
for example, say it nicely to your kid.
Hmm.
If even if you use that type of method, but with meaning, without meaning or meaningless, your kid will just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, like, at least it's my kid. What happens,
Okay.
because sanguine often like belittle things that shouldn't be belittled, are serious, like, again, for example, oh, um if you want to teach your kid, okay, don't play with the knife. Oh, okay, I shouldn't say don't. So, um my kid, Avery, kids are knives are sharp. Knife, if it poke, you will bleed, and it's too long. and
Okay.
your kid won't get the point.
Okay.
Kids are being kids. It's just like, don't touch it, because it will hurt you. If it hurts you, you might not know. If it bleeds deeply, you have to get stitches. Conversational. If he still does that, and you let him, and if he still does that, then experience. It comes not from conversational, but experience. And again, different kids sometimes has different traits. Some are really brave, like, for example, my kids does the things that he does, and you have to be the break to, for example, if it's goes out of control, you have to be the break. But
Yeah.
don't be like the overprotective fans. That's also bad. You have to try to balance things up.
Okay.
Sorry if it's too long, but
No, no
yeah, that.
worries. No worries. I'm gonna let's go back to the study
Yes,
scenario that I brought up. So
yes, yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
gonna add one more little caveat to it, and I want to
Hmm,
see
hmm,
if
hmm.
this will change your confidence or not.
Sure,
So
sure, sure.
so let's say they did a study, and the really angry parents, let's say the number's crazy high,
Yes.
like seventy
Hmm,
percent or something. And
hmm.
then let's say they do another segment, they kind of separate out the data, and they have one segment where it's like parents who did spankings, but they were just like you, where they talked about
Hmm,
it,
hmm.
and they
Yeah,
didn't do
yeah.
it for everything. It was just some one here, one there, just for the serious stuff, just for
Hmm,
stuff that was life threatening, or stuff
hmm.
that
Yes.
where it was like a physical altercation, and obviously can't have that with children.
Yeah.
And let's say that's more of the like 15% went off to
Hmm.
do these
Like
violent crimes or something.
violence. Hmm,
Right.
hmm, hmm.
And then let's say that there was this other method that parents used, and they did a study on that of
Hmm.
punishment. I don't know what it is. Let's say it's, I don't
Maybe
know,
timeout. Maybe.
timeout.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's say
Yeah.
they
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
exclusively used timeouts for their most severe punishment.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
And they found like that 1% go off to do violent crimes.
Hmm.
Does that affect your confidence?
Okay. So, if I say, this is really a different scenario, and
Mm-hmm.
if you said a really caveat things,
Yes.
I would change my mind if my kid could be treated that way. For
Mm.
example, if
Okay.
I know my kid is a melancholic kid and he does really get affected if, for example, getting left by me, or for example, okay, you go time out in the living room, meanwhile, mom and dad will not come and see you. Some kid just gets devastated by that. Some kids aren't. That's the point right there.
Okay.
But again, if my kid gets devastated because of that uh, punishment, I would never even touch or do that
Mm.
physical punishment, because it will create different effects on the kids.
Okay.
Because to be honest, there are a lot of like factors that shapes your kids to, so you have to know what types of your kids, whether he accepts physical punishment and would not do that again effectively, or whether your kids are the types of kids that doesn't really accept physicals, just by maybe leaving him behind would devastate him, or that, just as again, an examples that I gave you is that when my kids turn teen, I would needs to study again what his trait, what his friend is looks, what his friends looks like, or how he hangs out with his friends, and I need to readjust of
Mm.
what I do to my kids. Definitely, we cannot just say that spanking for life, for until you're 18, until you're 20. No, that wouldn't be wise, to
Okay.
be honest.
Gotcha.
But kids, um, there, I couldn't really say, um, or I couldn't really give you like, oh, okay, stop spanking at 12 when he's 12 years old, or stop spanking with he's 13, because again, every kids are, even like kids nowadays especially, um, they change faster than what we can imagine right now. Like for example, um, 10 years old maybe nowadays are like acting like a teen nowadays, where back then isn't really doing that much of a like fast growth. Well, again, you have to adjust, as I
Okay.
said. Um,
I got a
but yeah, again, if theoretically that 15% commits that kind of like violence, and
Mm-hmm.
um, if, for example, my kids doesn't really accept uh, spanking or physical punishment well, definitely will find a better way, something
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
Mhm, mhm.
Interesting. I have one last kind of question for you, and then I
Mhm,
think I'll
mhm.
let you go here. So, I guess it's similar to my last scenario,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
instead of about any possible negative problems with spanking, I guess what about if, like, let's say you spank your child, and then
Mhm,
for one particular action, let's
mhm,
say he's I don't know, playing with knives. I don't know, something
mhm,
silly
mhm.
like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah, yeah,
or not
yeah,
silly. That's obviously
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
dangerous. Something serious.
It's okay.
So
Mhm,
he's playing with knives. You decide, okay, it's definitely worth a spanking. You talk to him
mhm,
about it,
mhm,
serve his punishment, and you think that, okay, we're probably over the hill on this. He learned his lesson, but then the next day
mhm.
you go out and you find him grabbing knives
Still
off the
playing.
counter again,
Mhm.
right? Doing the same exact thing again. Would that lower your confidence that spanking was effective?
That's a very good question about if, for example, my kid does the thing again, after being taught like this is life threatening, and then
Mm-hmm.
the spanking happened, and then the next day it happens again. Well, to be honest, it could be, it could lower my confidence, to be honest, because it means he doesn't really understand the severity of that playing with knife is dangerous, But uh, if you ask me whether I'm going to up my punishment into like maybe even more severe, like more spanks or like physical type of punishment, I would ask like the first time, like why I spanked you and you did play again, why, something like that. And
Okay.
maybe he's just said like, if he said like for fun or I like playing with knife, and he didn't understand the severity of that um situations. That will be a very hard thing to do, because for example, if spanking is like in his mind is in the highest tier of punishment,
Mm-hmm.
if I lower down my tire into timeout, that would be um, a misguidance, to be honest. Because what the second time I played, I have to think about it. But I mean, like, because it never really happens to me. Because, that's really an interesting a scenario.
Sure.
Um, to be honest, I didn't really have any idea of what I mean, like whether it will definitely lower my confidence, like because we've agreed on, like, for example, at the first time, five, no, four, three, okay, three, and then afterwards, um, the next time he does that thing again, if for example he does that thing again, um, that will be hard, because if I increase the the amount of the spanking,
Mm-hmm.
then he needs to understand that he agrees too that this is very, very, very severe, because if I does the opposite of like lowering the tier, he would think that okay, so playing knife the first time is fine. I mean, like, it's just spanking, but the second time is even lower types of punishment or discipline, so
Well,
it's fine, something like that, something like that. Maybe it happens, but it really never really happened though right now. But
well, I
uh,
wonder if I
mhm,
expand on this a little bit.
mhm, mhm,
So let's say the first time with the knives, let's say you spank him 3 times. Let's
mhm,
say he
mhm,
does it again, and let's say
mhm.
it's 5 spankings the second
Okay,
time.
okay, okay, okay.
And then let's say he does it
Again,
a
third
third
time.
time, right?
Yep, yep,
But
yeah,
this
yeah.
time you think to yourself, okay, the spankings clearly aren't working. I can't be
Mhm,
hitting my child 10 times.
mhm,
And let's say you
mhm,
take away like Minecraft for a week.
mhm,
And then
mhm,
you observe that he doesn't um, touch the knives for, a few months.
mhm, mhm.
Would that lower your confidence that spanking is effective?
It might, because it means that my kids change preference,
Mm,
just like what I said.
sure.
You know, um, if for example he became a teen, who who would who would want their father to spank the teen boy or the teen kid? I don't think it would be an appropriate um, method again, or
Mm-hmm.
an effective method again, because teen have their own precious things. For me, for right now, maybe I don't know whether it's true or not. I have to ask my kids for this, but maybe for now, the precious things that my kid has is his mother love or his fatherly love. Who
Mm,
knows?
okay.
But it might change, because teens will definitely not say not. I mean, okay, um, before you go to school, give your dad a kiss or give your mom a kiss. Like, dad, the teen will do that. They're like,
Hmm.
it's different. Maybe that's a sign. What you said just now in that theoretical event, that physical aren't working anymore for the age
Okay.
that my kid maybe changed into even more mature,
Okay.
something like that.
Gotcha. All right. I think that's all I really wanted to ask. Whenever
Mhm.
I'm talking with someone, I always let them ask me any questions that they might have. So now would be your opportunity.
So, are you running for like a YouTube channel or?
Yes. Yep. I can send
That's
you the link.
cool.
Yeah.
No worries, no
S-
worries, no worries. And it's so nice to it really, to be honest, speaking about to you, I feel happy that I can share my experience, and I hope you get something. And I actually get something back at you from you, that as a parent, you have to keep your sensitivity level up every single time that you experience or face your kids, because every day might comes new problems. And you are right that if physical aren't working, change it.
yeah.
That's really good thing that you have to consider. But yeah, that's what I get from you. That's really nice. Mhm.
All right. I think we might, unless there's anything you want to add, I think we'll call it a wrap.
Yep, I think we call it a wrap.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, we've been going for quite some time. Thank you for
No problem.
for speaking with
Bye.
me.
Bye, Piers.
Bye.
Okay.